And we're back live. My name's Sinfully Luscious. On air with me today, I have Dan from Silencer. They're a band out of Colorado. Brand new album called The Great Bear. So tell me a little bit about who this Silencer is and where you guys got together and made this great band called Silencer.
Sure. Give you a little rundown. First off, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. So the band actually started in 1999, I believe. My good friend Keith Spargo had started it. And it started out as kind of like a thrash band that took a lot of influence from power metal. And actually, you might be able to call it more of a traditional metal band, too, if you are lucky enough to have found one of the earliest demos. But the band released two pretty awesome thrash EPs before I showed up. I joined the band in 2003, and so my first experience with the band was touring for the album Structures, which was the second of those two EPs. The first one was called Cosmos. There's some pretty fun thrash on those records. A lot of people ended up liking it. They're fairly successful commercially, and we really liked it. We got an offer to re-release Structures as a full length with a couple other records by an Italian label called Adrenaline Records. So we did that in 2003, and I forgot how well that sold. I think it did pretty well. Around that time, we kind of started making our sound more aggressive. We brought in a lot of like Scandinavian influence, so a lot of like the death thrash and the melodic death metal stuff. And that led to us releasing an album called The Death of Awe. We brought in a new singer, a new drummer, a new bassist at the time. Actually, no, we hadn't brought in a new bassist then. It was still like the three of us, Keith, bassist Jeff Alexis then, and me, and we brought in a new drummer named Brian and a singer named Chad. We had a really aggressive sound. That album was just really, really fast and really raw, and lots of like left hand moving around a lot type stuff. So then we kind of backed that off a little bit and released another record, which came out in 2009, I think, called Divisions. Divisions was like a little more mature, I would say, but it's still that, death thrash sound. A lot of reviewers called us metalcore, which we didn't really take too kindly to, but I could see how they would say it. We had a singer that was screaming like 95% of the time. There's a lot of fast drumming, and there were a couple things that might have sounded like breakdowns here and there. So after those two records, we kind of wanted to do something different. We thought, why don't we try to do a concept record? And that led to The Great Bear. And that's kind of where we are right now.
I am the new command. Glorious the
tell me a little bit about what Silencer is all about, how it is melded into this beautiful thing that you call Silencer?
Sure. Well, I guess for the Great Bear, we wanted to take the sound back to what we would call something more like traditional metal, something that sits well in like the late '70s. You know, when Priest was releasing, like before Priest got all happy in the '80s, and back when Motorhead was just like, you know, crushing it, and Accept was, you know, a huge sound at the time. A lot of the stuff that later led to thrash, like the proto-thrash sound. So we really were interested in taking it back to an earlier sound of metal, and then integrating some kind of Iron Maiden influences and some stoner rock influences, and then taking a little bit, like recognizing that we had come from like a more aggressive sound the last two records, and bringing in a little bit of that, like as a spice here and there. So I would say we're probably like traditional metal, or you could call us thrash still, but it's a lot of the songs on the record. I mean, are definitely not thrash.
So what do you think right now about the music business? Do you think it's a lot harder to be a band nowadays than it was maybe 10 years ago?
Harder to be a band now than 10 years ago. I'm gonna do the classic answer and say yes and no. It's a lot easier to get exposed because the internet's going to help you get your music in front of people. But because it's become so much easier to create a professional sounding recording, there's also a lot more music out there. So in the 80s and the 90s, labels like functioned as this filter that would like try to find the good shit and then promote it to the world for you, right? So it was, if you made it past the filter, it was a lot easier to find commercial success because there was just not that much of it. So now it's, you know, you can download really good music from so many different people, right? Or at least stuff that sounds really good. So your definitions, I guess, that's going to be subjective. But you can find so much music. There's a lot of competition out there. So it's easier to get your music in front of people, but it's harder to get it in front of a lot of people.
So who are your favorite bands right now, Dan?
Favorite bands right now. The most exciting thing I've found in a while is a fun little group called the Omega Experiment that actually I think it was one dude. He put out a record with like 3 tracks on it that I started listening to. I think it was a year or two ago. It was really entertaining. The guy really likes Devin Townsend. You can hear it. But if you can get over the fact that it sounds a lot like Devin Townsend, it's really entertaining stuff. Probably not too many people have heard of that. I'm a huge Darkane fan. I really like Darkane. I actually like the last Soilwork record a lot. Like Soilwork lost me right around figure number 5. Like that was the end of it for me. And then they came back in a big way just recently.
What do you find the most challenging thing is being a band? Is it staying together or producing great music?
It's probably staying together while producing great music. You know, we've had our share of lineup changes, and while everybody in the band, we still get along with well, that has been through the band over the years. Usually it's a result, changing the lineup is a result of the sound not fitting right, or somebody not feeling like they're getting the right, their creative expression or something like that. Or they're just, you know, sick of touring. Or I remember our singer, Chad, used to just drive our drummer, Brian, nuts on tour constantly. I mean, he would like all day long in the van be like, literally like poking Brian in the side. that kind of stuff adds up. You know, that'll if you can't learn to get along as friends, you know, while you're cooped up in a box that's traveling down the road at like 70 miles an hour, you're not going to last there. But it's definitely, I guess if you take any group of people, it's harder to make good music because you have to have the right mix. You know, one person can only take the music so far, and then they're going to kind of bump up against whatever their own limits are in terms of creativity, and you need somebody else to like bring other perspectives. And so it's a balance between having one person who's like an overlord of the music and having 10 people, for instance, and having like creative design by committee, you know, where everybody's voting on the sound, and that never works either. Like if you just look at the Beatles, I think it's a pretty good example of you can't just have one, but you can't have, you know, everybody.
So what do you think is like the most creative influence of your band?
In terms of a band, like what's, you know, what other bands influence us?
Well, in terms of what is the most effective creative outlet for your band?
Effective creative outlet. I mean, I guess a good way to answer that would be to maybe talk about the people in the band, right? So between me and my good friend Keith, for instance, we've got different goals. Like, I really like writing and recording music. That is what I get an absolute kick out of. And Keith likes that too, but he also likes playing music a lot more. So he gets much more energized by playing in front of people and doing that. And while I have a good time at that, I have more fun actually writing new music. To me, it's like once you've written it, it's kind of like hard to keep playing it. And I know that's not fair to fans because it might be new to fans, right? So I think for the band, we get a lot out of both of those things. We get a lot out of writing and playing. And most recently, what we got, at least I got the most value out of, was writing this awesome concept record about like an alternate timeline between, like, what if, I don't know if you've read any of the lyrics on this record, but it's pretty interesting. We basically say, what if, you know, after the U.S. landed man on moon, what if after that the Soviets didn't give up? What if they came up with something like more bombastic, like more metal, for lack of a better term, than what the U.S. was doing, and they wanted to one-up us? And the whole record became about that, and you know, we put some really interesting stuff into it, and that's been tremendously fun for me to actually write that.
Well, I think that the album creatively is an interesting concept album because I've heard a few of your other, you know, albums, and it's totally outside of the realm of what you were doing previously. And I like that a band can actually evolve into something a little bit different than that they were doing before. Do you feel that this is your greatest body of work?
Great Bear being our greatest body of work, I don't know. It's like so hard to I bring back the children reference I said earlier. It's so hard to say that, like, you know, your newest baby is the best. We really, really like the Great Bear, and a lot of other people do. I mean, people have been reviewing it very highly, a lot higher than our last two records. So if I wanted to go with popular opinion, I might say yes. But, you know, I happen to really like our entire back catalog.
Do you feel that Silencer is going to go out on tour and maybe be able to give this to the masses in the near future?
We're doing spot tours as the opportunity comes up. We've been at this for a while, and along the way we've, you know, ended up with some real world obligations, I suppose. But we are touring as they come up. We've got we just played a show in Denver, and next weekend we're playing in Amarillo, Texas, and we're playing in Santa Fe. And then we got a couple dates after that, I think. But it's definitely something where we're trying to put these, you know, long weekends in. The hard part about touring out of Denver is you really have to commit to a long period of time, because it takes like a good 7 hours to get to any other city that's like a reasonable size. Right? So not like not like you have it on the East Coast of the U.S., for instance, where you can drive a couple hours. It'd be an entirely new market.
That is true, very true. So I don't foresee you coming to Phoenix anytime soon?
We actually do the Southwest quite a bit, so I wouldn't rule it out.
Well, that would be awesome because I would really, really love to see you guys play live. And when you guys do come to Phoenix, let me know, and I'll make sure that I get to a show.
Definitely. The last time we played Phoenix, it was a blast. I remember the venue well. I don't remember what it was called, but it was cool. It was like a record store with a lot of black metal being played in it. It was awesome.
Well, cool. Well, I have totally appreciated you coming on air with me. I want you to go ahead and give everybody your Facebook. If you guys do Twitter, if you have a physical website, where they can get the album and all the good stuff that is Silencer, so everybody can hook up with you.
Oh, yeah. So you can find us on Facebook at Silencer Metal, right? So it's facebook.com/silencermetal. Our website is www.silencer.cc, right? So it's not .com, it's .cc. And you can find us if you search for the record. The record's called The Great Bear. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on iTunes. So if you just search for the band Silencer and The Great Bear, even in Google, you'll find a whole ton of stuff. We're also on Bandcamp if you use that. At silencermetal.bandcamp.com. We got streaming on there, so you can check out. I think you can listen to a whole record on there. And then, of course, buy it and give us some money. But check it out and let us know what you think. Like, hit us on Facebook or hunt us down on Twitter or throw some comments on our website, and we'd love to hear what you guys think about it.
Well, great, Dan. Can you do one more favor for me? Can you do a shout-out? Can you say your name, your band, and also you're listening to Metal Nation Radio?
Sure thing. Hey, this is Dan from Silencer, and you're listening to Metal Nation Radio.
Rock on. Well, stay with me. I'm going to put on your last track, and we'll talk on the other end.
Great.
All right. Here is Silencer and their track, Light. I also want to thank Dan from Silencer for being on air with me this morning. It was an awesome experience to have you here, and I hope you enjoyed being here also. Look forward to having you back again.